Hey everybody, it's me and Sarah. How's it going?
Hi,
Uh,
amazing. How are you doing?
Good. I was just saying I just finished a meditation, so I'm a little too present.
Well, that's really, really great. Like, now you must have all the answers, right?
No, what happened is I lost the me with the questions.
Oh, nice. So then there's no questions here.
Right. I don't need to do anything.
No, exactly. It'll just
So,
well, I had a question for you. How are you doing? How's
yeah.
everything going with you? Anything new?
Yeah. I've been doing some inner work this week, excavating. Because I noticed that I've been, and I just almost published a podcast on it. It'll go up later today. Um, I noticed I've been very addicted to being right and outraged over lots of things in the news,
Gotcha.
and um, and finding that, like, if that would help, that would be fine, but I don't think it does.
Yeah.
um, and specifically around many people's uh, increased awareness of racism. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I found it hard to hold both truths, that people are different and we are all one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you get lost in either of those, you can't function in this world.
Agree.
And I was moving very much towards, the people who don't believe what I believe are evil. Uh, and the people who don't look like me, I owe them outrage on behalf of the people who are evil. All right. So
Yeah.
I'm curious if you have any of those dynamics in your life, in your head.
Well, I'll say that because most of my friends, people that I've dated, are, of different race. So for me, like, I've always just considered that they were just like me, like I've never really put it in a box per se, just because I've just felt like they were a human being and I would treat them the way that I would want to be treated just because I'm a human being, but like I have experienced, racism and things like that for dating, for having friends, and things like that, and I never really like took it to heart or anything, just because I just felt like, that was just someone's belief, and I didn't have to integrate it or feel a certain way, about it, like, oh, this will bring up something really great. So like you, right? Like with everything going on, like I felt like I wanted to share something. Like I didn't feel called to protest. I didn't feel called to do some of the things that other people are doing, but I wanted to write, an article about, like, I had basically posted an article on my blog about We Are One. And I just shared my experience about just with police and dating, and just different things that I had experienced in my relationships with others that are of different color, and just what I experienced, and I got someone like that, kind of like, I felt like it was like a troll, like they were like, why aren't you telling people to read anti-racism, books, or like, why aren't you telling people to, do more and all this stuff. And like, I felt and I got a little triggered because I was like, oh my gosh, should I be doing like more, But at the sense, like, I just wanted to share my experience, that was all I felt called to do. And the moment that I just recognized that, that woman, maybe she just wasn't in a place where she could see what I was coming from, right? Because I was just saying, like, how we could take a deep breath and you say, I heal my heart and then you exhale and you say, my heart is healed, and she was like, no, people need to read books and this isn't going to work, and all this stuff. And I was just like, okay. Like, so I sent her a lot of love, and I just felt like that was all I needed to talk about on that topic. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to just continue with like having my friends and, doing that. And that's what I feel that would help me,
Yeah, yeah, and I think we're embedded in a conversation nationally, or a lack of conversation nationally, where a lot of things are getting conflated. Like, things look like each other. Like, for you to say, I've dated people of different colors and I try to see everyone as one, someone else could hear as, oh, I don't acknowledge other people's different experiences and my own privileges, because that's gotten so conflated. And I thought, like, my problem around this has been, I have been feeling the need to be right and to be approved of. And I think a lot of us, that's a very natural thing. And when we do it, most of us are online now, partly because we were online before, and now we have COVID, and so we can't be anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find that there's a huge temptation for me to not think for myself, but simply to want to get the approval of the person I have projected rightness onto. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and partly it's, I can feel it's a guilt reaction. Like, yeah, I haven't been doing enough. And like, look at me, I'm a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. As opposed to, and I think and because of the way we're talking about stuff, um, in any community, it feels like there's only one right way to do it. Right. So like, what this woman was saying to you is, what you were called to do, to talk about love and healing, was not the right way to do this.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. There was only one way to do it. Like, even like on Instagram, when people were, blacking out and things like that, like, I didn't necessarily feel called to do that. But like, there were like some voices inside of me saying like, oh, like, does that mean that you don't support this? And, da da da. But I think like, we at like when we listen to our minds, like our minds, because we see all these things, we're like, oh, like there's judgment against myself, against others, and all these things. But when we look at like the bigger picture is like, there is no right or wrong. We are here to be an individual of, creating what it is that we want to express into the world. And so the more that we can do that, even if it's not the thing to do, like, I'm sure not many people are telling people to go heal their heart, like, I mean, but for me, like, that works for me, and that's what I feel, called to do. And so for me, like, I've just been doing that so that I can heal the pieces of me that feel judgment and feel, like you're saying, guilt, fear, all these different things that we're all feeling at this time. Like, I've been doing my own inner work too. And I think it's really great that you decided that, it's time to tune in to myself, because what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing, what's going on inside is not like working for me right now.
Right, right. And I'm also, when you say that, I'm also hearing some part of me that is like critical of the spiritual movement for ignoring real life, right? For saying, well, as long as we're just working on ourselves and we're blissing out and we're doing our breathing, then we're sort of bystanders in a fight that has consequence.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think about that?
Well, if I just look at the bigger picture of like why we're all here, right? Like, I've been doing some like intense meditation. I've said before that I can spend hours in meditation and just be, with myself. And especially now that, like, there's no Olympics, like, for me, like, there's just been some things of like, what am I supposed to do right now, right? Like, I mean, there's only so much exercising, there's only so many things. But like what I'm finding is that like me doing absolutely nothing and holding space for humanity, for what everyone else is doing, is actually enough. And so I'm finding that I'm able to release my guilt more and more the more that I listen to my guides, to myself, and just understanding that what I'm doing right, just breathing right now is helping the planet, and like this kind of stuff isn't really talked about because we always think because we're human that we need to physically be doing something. I need to physically write an article, or I need to physically go out and protest, and I need to physically do this thing so that people know that I care. But
Hmm.
for me, like I'm doing this thing where I'm trying to do little, but just sit and breathe. And I just know, like, by visualizing this, like, new world of equality and peace and love, I know that just by thinking that, imagining that, like, I'm putting that into the existence. And I'm also helping others release their judgment onto others that that maybe I have done before as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
You're like, I don't know what to say to that.
Now I'm just being.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but it's like it's just interesting because the more that I learn about my spiritual side, the side that's not human, and I'm like kind of looking at myself as like, okay, I'm Sarah in this like spacesuit called Sarah.
Hmm.
And what is it that I want to do today? Like, what is it that I'm going to do that's going to help me expand and help the planet expand? Because all I've ever wanted in my journey is to help people, and I've always seen a better world because I've seen that the world that we've currently live in just hasn't been able to serve everyone. There shouldn't be people that make more money than people that make no money. You know what I mean? Like there should be like this equality going on, and what's happening now is actually beautiful because we're seeing like all the things that we've been trying to hide. Like there have been people that have been racist, right? There's been people that have just been like kind of pushing, oh, that we can't see that, and now that all of us are in quarantine and we're like we have nothing else going on, right? Like we can now look at all the shadows. Like you're doing this inner work, so you're seeing your own personal shadow, but now we're able to see the shadow of the collective, and like what is that? What can we do for our inner work? What else can we do inside versus physically?
So, is there a way? Because I do feel like there are people who are doing inner work as a means of avoiding issues. Like
Mm-hmm.
how can we tell if we're doing inner work that's meant to serve the collective, or inner work that's a substitute, that's ultimately just navel gazing?
That's a good one. So, Well, so there can be some inner work that may feel or look more egotistic, right? So it's more about like what can I do to create my reality, and and kind of look from that perspective. And then there's another perspective of doing the inner work that is helping yourself, but you have a bigger picture towards it. Like for me, like there was a lot of me trying to create my reality, but when I let go of the needing to really create the Olympics or anything like that, like, and to know that like the whole point of it was to just expand myself so that I could help others expand their self, it just allowed for me to really care about what's going on in the world, right? So I can see where people can do this for a more of a personal thing, and eventually they will, it can turn into something bigger, right? Like I don't feel like where the space that I'm in now, like I don't feel like where someone is right now means that that's where they're going to be. Like even with what's happening now in the world, like we have these different sides, right? Like I don't feel like it's going to stay that way because we're evolving, because there's so many people like myself and others that are doing the inner work and sending love and light to others all day, and no one can really see what we're doing, but we know that we're doing it, and we're doing that to help change the perspective of, the whole consciousness of humanity.
Cool. I like
Yeah,
it.
so it's so awesome. So keep doing your inner work, and know that you were here for a purpose. You're doing everything you need to do, and even if sometimes you feel like you're not doing enough, just sit back and do nothing and see like what things can come up for you, right? Because a lot of times the mind tells you to do something, but the heart tells you what is it that you really want to do, and just kind of find balance between the mind and the heart.
Yeah, I like the phrase you used earlier. Like I think you said like the Sarah suit, right? Like,
Yeah,
and like the existence of a Sarah suit or a Howie suit kind of proves that we are needed, right? Like
exactly.
the
Like we went
universe went to a lot of trouble to make space for them and to create them.
exactly. And each one of us are different but the same in every way. Like even the people that have different color spacesuits and than me or whatever, like they were here to bring something to this collective, and so if we get up in the morning and we breathe and we're here, like there's a purpose you're here, and if you feel like taking a nap all day, then take a nap all day, like it's not needed to feel like we need to physically do something, because the spacesuit is right. What we're doing right now is enough, and I love it.
Right, right. In my own work over the weekend, one of the things I realized is that I have this deep-seated and until then really unexamined belief that I have to pay rent to live on Earth, right? Like I have to justify my existence,
Yeah.
and recognizing that that's not how it worked. That's like at some point I adopted that belief. Now I clearly need to gather food and shelter, which is a different thing than needing to justify even being. Like having to perform in order to get this some sort of cosmic stamp of approval. They said, okay, we won't lay you off. You get another day, and recognizing that whatever I am is enough, and that so that whatever I do is from choice rather than obligation. It's kind of shaking my head a little bit. It's kind of it's a very different way of being, and it's almost like I'm learning to walk again.
Exactly. And like I've been toying with this belief of like when I was, going out to run, right? And so I've had this belief in my head that I've had 7 hip surgeries and running is just not good for me and I should never do it, right? And so that belief, by continuing to believe it over and over and over again, I created the same result. But the moment that I stopped believing that and said, you know what, like I want to do a new belief, I've created a new reality where now I'm able to run 5 times a week, and I've been able to swim once or twice a week, and not even feeling like I need to get back to my old reality, but more about like what beliefs am I creating now that are going to allow me to create a new, because if what we're here for is to expand in this spacesuit, what an amazing gift, like what is it that you want to create today, and looking at it, and but like it happens right when like you think this, and then there's something that happens, and you're like, oh, like, like some human form thing comes in where you have a book deadline, right? Or you have something that, or bills due, and you're just like, oh, like, how do I look at this in a way? And it's like, oh, but like, I still get to like do this, I get to pay this bill, I get to do this book deadline, and it's like you just start to look at life in a way of getting to do the things versus. To do the things.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cool. Very helpful.
Awesome. Sweet. We'll
Yeah.
see you. And next week is my birthday.
All right. So
So
we'll
we'll
have
have to do a special edition.
a special. Maybe I'll even remember to post it in advance so people can tune in
Yes.
live and wish you happy birthday.
Birthday party. A virtual birthday party.
All right. Well,
Cool
thanks a
deal.
lot.
See
See
you.
you. Talk to you next
Waving.
time.
Bye.
Bye.